Hello friends, in this session we discuss about intestinal and genitourinary flagellates. In the previous sessions we have seen about introduction to parasitology as well as we have seen about some amoeba, ant amoeba histolytica which causes amoebic dysentery and some free living amoeba, Naegleria, Acanthamoeba and Balamuthia. Now in this several sessions we will be having a look at several flagellates, means parasites, protozoa having flagella. उसमें दो कैटेगरीज आती है, एक इंटेस्टिनल एंड जेनिटोरिनरी फ्लैजिलेट्स और एक हेमोफ्लैजिलेट्स. So in this session we have a look at intestinal and genitourinary flagellates. Parasitic protozoa of this group possess one or more whip-like flagella as their organs of locomotion. Although some luminal flagellates are non-pathogenic commensals, two of them cause clinical disease: Giardia lamblia, which causes diarrhea, and Trichomonas vaginalis, which causes vaginitis and urethritis. Diseases produced by flagellates are primarily the result of chemical irritation and inflammation causing localized tissue damage. Giardia lamblia is a flagellate. It causes diarrhea. It is an intestinal flagellate living in the intestine of man. You can see in this figure a leaf-shaped structure with the flagella coming out of it. This is a tropozoite of Giardia lamblia. What is the habitat? What is the location of Giardia lamblia? Habitat में उसका it lives attached to the mucosa of duodenum and upper part of jejunum of man. It occurs in the vegetative and cystic forms. मतलब Giardia lamblia के दो morphological forms हैं, एक tropozoid form और एक cystic form. Total 2 morphological forms. और उसका लोकेशन क्या है? उसका हैबिटेट है डिओडिनम का मुकोजा और अपर पार्ट ऑफ जिजोनम. तो डिओडिनम एंड अपर पार्ट ऑफ जिजोनम में वो रहता है, that is in the small intestine, and it has 2 morphological forms, tropozoite and cyst. In this figure you can see the intestinal wall, the mucosa of the small intestine, and small leaf-like structures can be seen near the wall. These leaf-like structures, they are giardia. Now the morphological forms are 2 for giardia. One is the tropozoite form and one is cyst form. The tropozoite of Giardia lamblia is about 15 to 20 micrometers in length and जैसा leaf shape, जैसा pyriform shape or heart shape or teardrop या racket shape, ऐसे different names have been given to describe the shape of the tropozoite. Teardrop, racket or heart shape or pyriform shape. It is a motile tropozoite. Its motility is like falling leaf type, and the structure is rounded anteriorly and pointed posteriorly. There are 2 nuclei, 2 exostyles, 2 parabasal bodies and 4 pair of flagella. एक्जोस्टाइल मतलब बीच में 2 स्टिक जैसी स्ट्रक्चर पास होती है उसके वर्टिकल एक्सिस पे, उसको एक्जोस्टाइल बोलते हैं. और वो एक्जोस्टाइल के दोनों तरफ एक एक न्यूक्लियस होता है. तो 2 अपर साइड पे फोटोग्राफ है, उसमें आप देख सकते हो 2 न्यूक्लियाई है ऑन द साइड्स ऑफ द एक्जोस्टाइल. और एक्जोस्टाइल में नीचे एक स्ट्रक्चर होता है, उसको बोलते हैं पैराबेजल बॉडी, और 4 पेयर ऑफ फ्लैजिला उसमें से अराइज करते हैं ट्रोपोजॉइट में से. So this is the basic structure of tropozoite of Giardia lamblia. Rounded anteriorly, pointed posteriorly, 2 nuclei, 2 exostyles, 2 parabasal bodies and 4 pair of flagella. It has bilaterally symmetrical structure and it has a ventral suckling disc which is used for attachment to intestinal epithelial cells. तो न्यूक्लियस के साथ आपको एक ऐसे डिस्क लाइक स्ट्रक्चर दिख रहे हैं, उसमें स्ट्रक्चर में वो होते हैं सक्लिंग डिस्क बोलते हैं उसको. एंड विद द हेल्प ऑफ दिस सक्लिंग डिस्क द ट्रोपोजॉइट अटैचेस टू द मुकोजा ऑफ द इंटेस्टाइन. Tropozoites multiply by binary fission and they reside in the crypts in the intestine. Next is the cyst of Giardia lamblia. The cyst is little smaller than the tropozoite. In any parasite, when you study tropozoite and cyst both, always the cyst is little smaller than the tropozoites. Cyst is about 10 to 15 micrometers in length, ovoid in shape. It has tough hyaline cyst wall, diagonally located exostyles, 2 parabasal bodies, 2 to 4 pair of nuclei, and a retracted cytoplasm. The cyst is passed in phases. Here you can see a diagrammatic representation of the cyst. 4 nuclei can be seen, 2 exostyles along the vertical axis. Then parabasal body can be seen, and इसमें फ्लैजिला नहीं दिखेगा. सिस्ट इज़ नॉन मोटाइल, तो उसमें फ्लैजिला नहीं होता. लेकिन जो एक्सोस्टाइल होता है, पैराबेजल बॉडी होता है, न्यूक्लियस होता है, और ये सिस्ट स्टूल में पास होता है. और दिस सिस्ट इज़ रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर कंटिन्यूशन ऑफ द स्पीसीज. क्योंकि वो रेजिस्टेंट टू एडवर्स कंडीशंस है, तो सिस्ट विल बी रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द पैरासाइट गोइंग इनटू द नेक्स्ट होस्ट. ट्रोपोजॉइट बाहर निकल के वो ज़्यादा सर्वाइव नहीं कर पाते, लेकिन सिस्ट विल परसिस्ट एंड दे विल गो टू द न्यू होस्ट. इधर माइक्रोस्कोपी में सिस्ट का पिक्चर दिख रहा है, जिसमें न्यूक्लियस और एक्सोस्टाइल जैसा आपको अप्रिशिएट कर सकते हो. अब जियार्डिया लाम्बिया की एपिडेमोलॉजी. फीको ओरल रूट इज़ द रूट ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन. ये इंटेस्टाइन में रहता है पैरासाइट. इंटेस्टाइन में से फीसिस के ज़रिए वो बाहर निकलता है, और वहाँ से फूड और वाटर का कंटेमिनेशन हो सकता है, और कंटेमिनेटेड वाटर और फूड के ज़रिए नेक्स्ट होस्ट में के बॉडी में जा सकता है. तो फीको ओरल रूट इज़ द रूट ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन. ड्रिंकिंग कंटेमिनेटेड वाटर इज़ द मोस्ट कॉमन मोड ऑफ ट्रांसमिशन. सोर्स ऑफ इन्फेक्शन इज़ द ह्यूमन कैरियर. पर्सन टू पर्सन ट्रांसमिशन हो सकता है क्या? इट हैज़ बीन ऑब्जर्व्ड इन चिल्ड्रन एंड मेंटली इल पेशेंट्स एंड होमोसेक्सुअल्स. रिजर्वायर्स हैं इसके. देयर आर सेवरल रिजर्वायर्स इन नेचर. कैट्स, डॉग्स, कैटल, शीप and many wild animals may also serve as reservoirs of infection and contaminate the water with cyst pass in feces. That means human beings are not the only species infected by Giardia lamblia. Other species can also harbor this parasite, and they can act as reservoirs in nature, like cats, dogs, cattle, sheep, etc. Outbreak of Giardia lamblia infection has been observed in children in daycare centers. एंड ससेप्टिबल पॉपुलेशन कौन सी होती है? तो चिल्ड्रन आर मोर ससेप्टिबल, क्योंकि उनके अंदर इम्यूनिटी अभी टोटली डेवलप नहीं हुई. और इम्यूनो कॉम्प्रोमाइज पेशेंट्स एंड पर्सनस हैविंग एक्लोरिडिया, जिनमें हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड प्रोडक्शन सफिशिएंट नहीं होता, वो सब ससेप्टिबल होते हैं. क्योंकि हाइड्रोक्लोरिक एसिड स्टमक का वो पैरासाइट को डिस्ट्रॉय कर देता है, लेकिन जिसमें HCl प्रोड्यूस नहीं होता सफिशिएंट, उसमें वो पैरासाइट कैन सर्वाइव थ्रू द स्टमक रेजिस्टेंस, and it can lead to manifestation of infection. So this is the epidemiological features of Giardia lamblia. अब कोई भी पैरासाइट होता है, उसका एक लाइफ साइकिल होता है. वो कैसे एक होस्ट में से निकल के फिर नेक्स्ट होस्ट में कैसे जाता है, उसका कंप्लीट लाइफ साइकिल का एक प्रोसेस क्या होता है, दैट इज़ डिस्क्राइब्ड इन एवरी पैरासाइट. इन केस ऑफ Giardia lamblia there is only one host, only human being is the host. मीन्स दो होस्ट नहीं है. डेफिनेटिव होस्ट और इंटरमीडिएट होस्ट बोलते हैं, वैसा दो टाइप का होस्ट नहीं है, सिंगल होस्ट है. और सिंगल होस्ट में से वो डिस्चार्ज होगा, एनवायरनमेंट में जाएगा, और एनवायरनमेंट में से फिर वो नेक्स्ट होस्ट में जाएगा. तो ऐसे उसका साइकिल चलेगा. ट्रोपोजॉइड्स दे मल्टीप्लाई इन द मैन्स इंटेस्टाइन बाय बाइनरी फिजन. At which place in the man's intestine? In the duodenum and in the jejunum. In the mucosa of the duodenum and jejunum, the tropozoites will multiply by binary fission. Some of the tropozoites will become encysted and they will become cysts, and these cysts are passed in feces. In the feces, cyst and tropozoid both are passed, but the tropozoites will not survive outside the host. The cyst will survive. They will contaminate the food and water in environment, and the new host will ingest this cyst by contaminated food and water. Infective dose of Giardia lamblia is about 10 to 100 cysts. Means as little as 10 cysts also when ingested, they can lead to giardiasis. In about 30 minutes time after ingestion, each cyst will hatch 2 tropozoids. And these 2 tropozoids, they will lodge in the mucosa of the duodenum and jejunum, and they will start multiplying there, and thus the cycle will continue as shown previously. So this is the life cycle of Giardia lamblia. You can draw diagrammatically in a circular manner, showing different stages of the life cycle, and in a circular form the entire life cycle can be shown. Man is the only host. There is only single host. Besides man, there are other hosts as well, like cats and dogs, but we are not going into that zoonotic portion. But here for human beings, Giardia infection, only one host is there, and the route of transmission is fecal-oral route. The infective form for human beings is the cyst. The cyst is resistant form of the parasite and it can survive in adverse conditions, and it is responsible for the transmission of disease from one host to another host. When the cyst reaches the intestinal wall, there are mucosal defenses in the intestinal wall which will protect the host from the cyst. Natural barriers are there like mucus, peristalsis, proteases, lipases, bile salts, intestinal microbiota, and Paneth cells. Then innate immune responses like nitric oxide, reactive oxygen species, lactoferrin, defensins, phagocytes, mast cells, and dendritic cells. Then adaptive immune responses of antibodies and T cell responses. See, there are so many defense mechanisms in the intestine. First, in the stomach, there is gastric acidity, which will destroy many of the morphological forms of parasites. And those parasites which can survive the gastric acidity will only be able to pass to the intestine. And once they reach the intestine, they are going to come across all these defense mechanisms in the intestine. So those parasites which can survive all these orbs, they will only persist in the intestine and multiply and lead to giardiasis. Although giardia is quite capable of causing disease in the manner that the infective dose is very less. Even 10 to 100 cysts of Giardia lamblia can lead to giardiasis. Now, what is the pathogenesis? Once it reaches the intestine, it will attach to the mucosa of duodenum and jejunum, and it will lead to abnormalities in the villus structure. And this abnormality in the villi can lead to disturbance of intestinal absorption, leading to malabsorption, particularly of lipids and lipid-soluble vitamins like vitamin A. So malabsorption is an important clinical condition found in giardiasis. Besides malabsorption, mucus diarrhea may also occur in some cases. The disease resolves spontaneously in about 3 to 4 weeks in immunocompetent people, but in case of immunodeficient people, it can persist longer and lead to further deterioration. Giardia lamblia causes symptomatic disease in hypogammaglobulinemia and achlorhydria. Means lack of gastric acidity will also make a person more susceptible to the infection, and lack of immunoglobulins will also make a person more susceptible to the infection. In heavy infection, there is general disaccharidase deficiency, which leads to lactose intolerance that usually resolves after treatment. So in immunocompetent people, giardiasis is a self-limiting illness. In about 2 to 3 weeks or even within 4 weeks, the disease will resolve. It is more common in children. In adults, it is less common because they develop immunity. But in immunocompromised people, the disease might be severe, and it is one of the cases of opportunistic diarrhea occurring in AIDS patients. In the clinical disease, symptomatic children will have watery diarrhea. Chronic diarrhea may also occur with malabsorption. In older patients, epigastric pain, flatulence, low-grade fever, abdominal distension, and diarrhea can occur. Stools are foul-smelling without blood or pus. There is one condition known as traveler's diarrhea. In giardiasis, traveler's diarrhea can also occur. Traveler's diarrhea means when a person travels to another area, into another place where there are different set of microbes in the environment, and that person is not exposed to those microbes in his native place. So for that person, these microbes are new, and as they travel to a new place, the microbes in that place will lead to infection to the traveling person, and many of these such microbes, they can lead to diarrhea in the person, and such cases are called traveler's diarrhea. So there are different bacteria and different parasites which can lead to traveler's diarrhea, like even E. coli and Klebsiella can also lead to traveler's diarrhea. So this is a general term used for all such cases of diarrhea occurring in travelers. Giardia is also one cause of traveler's diarrhea. Then giardiasis can also lead to gallbladder infection. Occasionally the gallbladder may be colonized by Giardia lamblia, producing biliary colic and jaundice. For laboratory diagnosis of Giardia lamblia, we can do microscopy. In microscopy, we'll take the stool sample of the patient and examine it in the microscope For any parasite, the first thing we do is try to observe the parasite, whether it is seen in the sample macroscopically or microscopically. For larger parasites like nematodes, even some of them can be seen in the stool sample macroscopically. But not all can be seen macroscopically, because these, like protozoa, like these ones, they are very small in size, so they cannot be seen macroscopically, but microscopically we can appreciate most of the parasites. So stool sample will be taken, and a wet film is prepared, 1 drop of saline and 1 drop of stool sample, and it is seen in the microscope, and we search for tropozoites and cysts of Giardia lamblia. The cysts are shed intermittently in the stool samples, not continuously, so several samples may be necessary to diagnose the condition. Saline preparation of stool shows large number of cysts and tropozoites. If the stool is watery, the tropozoites are more likely to be seen. And when you prepare a wet film saline preparation, then you can see motile tropozoites also. And motile tropozoites of Giardia lamblia, they show falling leaf-like motility. Falling leaf-like motility is a characteristic feature of Giardia lamblia tropozoites. And in the saline preparation, you can see motile tropozoites, but when you do iodine preparation or Giemsa stain and all, then the tropozoites will be killed. So then you cannot see the motility. So saline preparation, iodine preparation, Giemsa stain and trichrome stain are some methods which can be used for microscopy for Giardia lamblia. Duodenal contents can also be examined, because Giardia lamblia, they live in the duodenum. So duodenal aspirates, duodenal contents can be examined for the presence of Giardia lamblia, cyst and tropozoites. Biliary material obtained from duodenal intubation may yield tropozoites. There is one test known as string test. In the string test, a gelatin capsule attached with a string is swallowed by the patient and taken out after some time. Adhering contents may yield tropozoites. It means that since the parasite is there in the duodenum, to observe the parasite in the microscope, one string test can be performed if the parasite is not seen in the stool samples. In the string test, one capsule is taken, attached with a string. The string is attached on the outer side of the cheek of the patient, and the person is allowed to swallow the capsule. As the capsule goes down in the intestine, its wall will get dissolved, and the end of the thread inside the capsule, that will be free, and tropozoites of the parasite, they will attach to the thread in the duodenum, and after half an hour or after some time, the thread is withdrawn from the patient's intestine, and when this material is seen in the microscope on the slide, then tropozoites of Giardia lamblia can be seen. This test is known as string test. See, in this microscope, you can see the tropozoites and cyst of Giardia lamblia. The tropozoite is pyriform in shape or teardrop in shape. Flagella, pairs of flagella can be seen. It is difficult to appreciate the internal structure since the size is very small, about 10 to 15 micrometers or so. But with difficulty, sometimes the nucleus can be seen, the suckling disc can be seen in the tropozoite, and the cyst has nuclei and the axostyle, and it is little smaller than the tropozoite. The falling leaf-like motility of Giardia lamblia can be seen in the microscope in a saline preparation. Here in this figure also you can see the tropozoites of Giardia lamblia, like falling leaf type. Besides microscopy and duodenal sample examination, other tests can be performed like ELISA test, fluorescent antibody test, antigen detection and antibody detection, two types of tests. In antigen detection, ELISA and fluorescent antibody test can be performed, and in antibody detection, ELISA and indirect immunofluorescence test can be used. The next parasite is Trichomonas vaginalis. Trichomonas vaginalis is a genitourinary flagellate. It resides in the genitourinary tract of males and females, and the peculiarity of this parasite is that it has only one morphological form, that is tropozoid form. It does not have two morphological forms like Giardia. Giardia had tropozoid and cyst both forms, but Trichomonas vaginalis has only one form, that is the tropozoid form. It does not have cyst form. There are more than 100 species of genus Trichomonas, out of which only 3 species are associated with humans: Trichomonas vaginalis, Trichomonas hominis, and Trichomonas tenax. They exist only in the tropozoid phase and there is no cystic phase. Trichomonas vaginalis causes urogenital infections and is the only pathogenic species of the genus. Trichomonas hominis और Trichomonas tenax होते हैं ह्यूमन बॉडी में, लेकिन they live as commensals in the human beings. But Trichomonas vaginalis causes disease. What is the habitat of Trichomonas vaginalis? It lives in the genitourinary system of males and females, mainly found in urethra and vagina of women and urethra and prostate glands of men. It may also be found in the Bartholin's glands and even in the bladder in females. Trichomonas multiplies by binary fission in the longitudinal axis. In this figure you can see that the genitourinary tract of males and females that can be affected by Trichomonas vaginalis. Morphologically, there is only one morphological form, that is the tropozoid form. There is no cyst form. The shape of this tropozoid is pear-shaped. It is small in size, about 10 to 15 or even up to 20 micrometers in length, or about 5 to 10 micrometers in width. Its motility is jerky motility kind, rapid or wobbling or rotatory motility. These are various words used to describe the motility of Trichomonas vaginalis: jerky, rapid, wobbling or rotatory motility. There is one nucleus which is not visible in unstained preparations. There are 3 to 5 anterior flagella and 1 posterior flagella. There are granules in the tropozoid, chromatin granules scattered in the cytoplasm. There is an undulating membrane from anterior end up to the middle of the body. Life cycle of Trichomonas vaginalis. Habitat is the urogenital tract of infected men and women. Transmission is by sexual route. So sexually transmitted parasite. Example, Trichomonas vaginalis. So if you are asked for giving example of parasitic STD, then you can enumerate Trichomonas vaginalis in that. They are passed out in the vaginal and prostatic secretions and urine. लाइफ साइकिल में सेक्सुअल ट्रांसमिशन है, इसमें कोई दूसरा कोई होस्ट नहीं है, एक ही ह्यूमन बीइंग इज़ द ओनली होस्ट. ओनली वन मॉर्फोलॉजिकल फॉर्म, दैट इज़ द ट्रोपोजॉइड. ओनली वन होस्ट, दैट इज़ ह्यूमन बीइंग. और एनवायरनमेंट में रहने का ऐसा कुछ इसकी लाइफ साइकिल में नहीं है. इट इज़ जस्ट ट्रांसमिटेड फ्रॉम पर्सन टू पर्सन बाय सेक्सुअल रूट. So from one person to another person, in that another person it will multiply by binary fission and it will stay in the urogenital tract. From that second person it can transmit to a third person. That way its life cycle goes on. Epidemiology. Distribution of Trichomonas vaginalis cosmopolitan. Trichomonas vaginalis cannot survive outside the body, so only person to person transmission can take place. Environment का role इसमें बीच में नहीं आता. Occasionally infection may be transmitted through fomites such as toilet articles and clothings. Asymptomatic males may act as reservoir of infection for their partners. Infants may get infected during birth from infected birth canal. Pathogenesis में Trichomonas vaginalis selectively infect the squamous epithelial cells of the vagina. They feed on host vaginal cells that may result in disruption of the glycogen levels and the vaginal bacterial flora, leading to rise in the pH levels. The parasite thrives at a pH level that exceeds 4.9. There may occur epithelial erosion which leads to petechial hemorrhages and metaplastic changes in the epithelium. We repeat the pathogenesis. They live in the squamous epithelial cells of vagina और वहाँ पे वो vaginal cells कंज्यूम करते हैं और डिसरप्शन कर देंगे और उसकी वजह से वेजिनल बैक्टीरियल फ्लोरा भी डिस्टर्ब हो जाएगा. वहाँ का पीएच चेंज हो जाएगा, पीएच मोर देन 4.9 हो जाएगा और एपिथेलियल सेल्स का इरोजन हो सकता है. उसकी वजह से पेटिशियल हेमरेजेस हो सकते हैं और मेटाप्लास्टिक चेंजेस भी हो सकते हैं एपिथेलियम में. क्लिनिकल डिजीज़ में इंक्यूबेशन पीरियड इज़ सेवरल डेज, 4 to 28 days इज़ द रेंज. इन वुमेन इट कैन लीड टू it can be asymptomatic or it can lead to scanty watery vaginal discharge. Vaginitis may occur with extensive inflammation and erosion of the epithelial lining that is associated with symptoms including itching, burning and painful urination, along with profuse frothy and malodorous discharge containing bacteria, pus and tropozoids. मतलब फीमेल्स में एसिम्टोमेटिक भी हो सकता है, सिम्टोमेटिक भी हो सकता है, वजाइनल डिस्चार्ज होगा, वजाइनाइटिस होगा, इरोजन ऑफ एपिथेलियल लाइनिंग, इसमें ईचिंग, बर्निंग एंड पेनफुल यूरिनेशन हो सकता है, और प्रोफ्यूज फ्रॉथी एंड malodorous discharge can occur which contains bacteria, pus and trophozoite. In men, the infection is usually asymptomatic. Asymptomatic men can act as carriers. Occasionally, urethritis, prostatitis and cystitis may occur. Symptoms of trichomonas: discharge from the urethra, burning during urination or after ejaculation, urge to urinate frequently. These symptoms in the males. In the females, grey or yellowish vaginal discharge, vaginal bleeding, genital burning, genital swelling, frequent urge to urinate, and pain during sex. These are some photographs which show vaginitis. Frothy, malodorous discharge is there in case of trichomoniasis. In the laboratory diagnosis, we can do microscopy and try to see the parasite in the microscope. There is only one morphological form in Trichomonas vaginalis, that is the tropozoid form, which sample can be taken. Vaginal discharge, urethral discharge, prostatic secretions and urine sediments can be taken. A direct wet mount can be performed, and when you see in the microscope in saline preparation, direct urine preparation, wet mount, a small amount of freshly collected specimen mixed with a drop of saline on a microscopic slide covered with the cover slip. Examination under low power microscope with reduced illumination reveals actively moving organisms with jerky movement. The motility of Giardia lamblia was of the type of wobbling or rotatory movement, and in case falling leaf-like movement, and in case of Trichomonas vaginalis, it is jerky movement. Movement of the undulating membranes may be seen as the jerky motility diminishes. When you stain Trichomonas vaginalis, you can see Giemsa stain, Papua New Guinea stains can be used. You can see the tropozoite and its different features in the stain. The exostyle can be seen and the flagella can be seen. Stain preparations of dry smears can be examined, and staining with monoclonal antibodies and nucleic acid probes are also available commercially. For culture, some parasites can be grown in culture plates like bacteria. So for parasites, culture mechanisms have been developed. Even for Trichomonas vaginalis, culture facilities are there. Advantage of the culture is that it is more sensitive. The disadvantage is that it is expensive and technically difficult. The organism is grown in a variety of solid and liquid media, including Brushley's, Finberg, Whittington's, Royrons, and Johnson-Trussell's media. It can also be grown in tissue culture in eggs. CPLM agar is used frequently for Trichomonas vaginalis. CPLM means cysteine, peptone, liver, maltose. So these four components are there in this medium. Then plastic envelope medium, or PEM. This envelope approach allows both immediate examination and culture in one self-contained system. Other methods for diagnosis include serological tests, indirect hemagglutination and gel diffusion techniques, gene probes, monoclonal antibodies and DNA probes, and PCR is also employed. And with this we end this session. We have studied two parasites here: Giardia lamblia causing intestinal infection, giardiasis, and Trichomonas vaginalis, which causes genitourinary infection. It is a sexually transmitted parasitic disease. Thank you.